Hey Bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and today we are making some really fun, super bubbly lavender spruce shower gel. I've tried to keep the ingredients list for the shower gel pretty short because I know there's tons and tons and tons of things that you can put into surfactant concoctions, but this is a wash-off product for our bodies, so you're not putting it on your delicate face skin. You are using it for like your shins. So I thought this would be a pretty good place to keep it kind of simple and a little bit more accessible. Our surfactant blend is a simple combination of sodium cocoa sulfate, which gives amazing bubbles, and some Cocamidopropyl betaine, which helps make the surfactant blend a bit more mild. We're then sort of dissolving that in some water, adding some glycerin, which helps with humectants and moisturizing. We've got some fun colors in there and some essential oils, and that's more or less it. Some preservative, we're going to thicken it with some salt. It's not hard and the ingredient list isn't long, but the instructional part gets a little long because the thickening part, I kind of wanted to show you the steps of the thickening, so that part is a little bit long, but not a hard thing to make, makes a lot of bubbles, and is a really fun thing to have in your shower. If you have any questions about scaling or substitutions or where to buy ingredients or just something where you're like, she could have explained that better, go down to the blog because there's a really, really good chance that it's there. It's so much easier to communicate a lot of this stuff in writing than it is in just like talking, especially because I don't want to make these videos really, really, really long. So yeah, it's like a really nice piece of supplementary content that'll probably answer a lot of your questions pretty much instantly. So yeah. Go down to the description box and click here, or just go to humblebeeandme.com and search for Lavender Spruce Shower Gel and it'll pop right up. But yeah, let's go make some awesome bubbly shower funness. We'll begin by preparing our surfactant paste. So in this beaker, I have 11.25 grams of Cocamidopropyl betaine, and to that we're going to add 7.5 grams of sodium cocoa sulfate. To melt this together, we're going to pop our beaker in this saucepan, which is just a small flat bottom saucepan that's got about 1 inch or 3 centimeters of water in the bottom of it, and as you can see, a little silicone drink coaster to insulate our beaker from the bottom of the pan. And so I'm going to go put this on the stovetop over medium heat for about 20 to 30 minutes. You will need to stir as you go, but these little prills will break up and you'll just end up with a nice uniform paste. While we let our surfactant paste melt, we can get our colorants prepped in the glycerin that we're going to add to the recipe later. So in this little dish, I have 10.5 grams of vegetable glycerin. And for our pigments, we have Red Lake Dye, number 40, and Lake Blue. So we're going to add the teensiest amounts of these and stir them into the glycerin, and this gives us a chance to sort of adjust the color here. I tend to like a pretty cool purple, so that usually ends up being, a little on the bluer side. But if you like a warmer purple, you'll want a little bit extra red. So this spoon here is the one I'll be using, and you will see I'm not coming anywhere close to filling it, but it is a 1/64th of a teaspoon, and I'm going to be taking bits of pigment like that. Like, I don't even know if you can really see that. It's so little pigment, and we'll kind of work up to it, but yeah, there's very little needed because these are nice and potent, and we don't want to make a product that, colors our skin. We just want it to be colorful. Okay, so now we've got a fairly cool purple hue, so we can add this to our product when it is at that point. We've got our color sorted, and remember, it's you can definitely sort of tweak the color to your preference. I like this sort of cooler, dustier purple here, but yeah, if you wanted a redder purple, you would use less blue and more red. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes. We have our paste, so I'm going to remove this from our water bath here, scrape off as much of the paste as possible back into the container. I'm going to add our water. That's 118 grams of water. And then we're going to weigh this whole thing. And I'm going to write that down, 246 grams. Now this is going back into our water bath to melt and dissolve that surfactant paste into the water. And I'm going to go pop this back on the stovetop, and I'll sort of be coming back to it every now and then and smushing it up kind of like I am now. You don't want to stir it too vigorously, otherwise you'll just create a ton of bubbles, but just be patient and it'll happen. And just like that, the surfactant paste has vanished, and we now have what looks like water, but that will froth up if agitated. So we are done with our water bath. So we're going to kickstart the cool down process by adding back any water that might have evaporated while we were heating it. So let's pop this back on our scale here. So that's 238, and we need it to be 246. So now we want to let it cool down to room temperature, so you can either just leave it or you can use an ice bath. So I've decided I'm going to hustle things along with an ice bath because I'm feeling impatient today. So there's really no need to keep stirring this continuously as it sits in the ice water bath. It'll help it cool a bit faster, but it's not a butter mixture or anything, so we're not worried about keeping it moving. So now that this is at room temperature, we can carry on. So first I want to add our pretty pigmented glycerin mixture. And then we're going to add our essential oils. So we need 0.75 grams of each spruce and lavender essential oil. And I do find that the SCS is a powerful enough solubilizer that they incorporate just fine without the addition of anything like a polysorbate. And now we'll add our preservatives. So we'll be using liquid germall plus for this. And we're going to need 0.75 grams of that as well. Now we're going to check and adjust the pH. So first we need to prepare our diluted samples. So I've got a couple bowls prepped to the side that have 4.5 grams of distilled water in them. And then to that we're going to add 0.5 grams of this mixture to create a 10% dilution. So it's kind of 7.5, 8-ish. Now I've made this recipe a couple times, so I know we want about 3 drops of a 50% or 1-to-1 citric acid solution, which I have pre-prepared. Grab another bowl here with the 4.5 grams of water. I'm just gonna pump this pipette a couple times to make sure that we've thoroughly rinsed out any of the previous remnants. And then we'll add 0.5 gram to this batch of distilled water. And that's sort of that 5-ish range, which is what we're going for, so perfect. So our last step is going to be thickening this, and we're going to do a salt. And we're going to start with quite small amounts, so this is just 0.5 gram of salt. I can already feel that this is becoming more viscous, which I think is so cool. You definitely want to stir well and give a decent amount of time between additions of salt to get a feel for how much each addition is impacting the viscosity. This is 0.3 grams of salt. This is 0.2 grams of salt, so now after this addition we've added 1 gram of salt. And this is a 150 gram batch. This is another 0.2 grams, so that's a total of 1.2 grams of salt in a 150 gram batch. This is 0.1 of a gram. I feel like we're getting close, so I'm reducing our additions. can really start to notice the viscosity now. So I'm going to give this a bit of a stir, and then I want to leave it for about 5 minutes just to make sure I've got a good handle on where this is at before I decide if I want to add any more salt. All right, it's been 5 minutes. I think I'd like this to be a little bit thicker. I'm going to just do another 0.1 grams of salt. All right, I'm happy with that, so we're going to pop this in our container now. For a container, I'm going to be using this 4-ounce or 120 milliliter Tottle from Windy Point, Tottle being a portmanteau of tube plus bottle. And in order to hold this upright so that I can fill it, I'm just going to wedge it in a small mason jar here. And there you go, you just made a super bubbly, lovely lavender spruce shower gel. Here you can see a couple of the different versions I created as I was fine-tuning the recipe. These ones are 120 gram batches, so you can see that they don't quite fill the tubes like the 150 gram batch does. And you can definitely see the different variations that you can get from using different amounts of red and blue for your different shades of purple. This one looks a lot more purple in real life than it seems to on camera, so but yeah, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, and do remember to go down to the description box and click through to the blog post that corresponds with this video to learn a whole lot more about this recipe and probably answer most of the questions you might have. So yeah, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.